For those of a certain age, I think you will remember getting a ton of direct mail at home and at the office, like pieces like I'm showing here. Ones with really nice personalized envelopes, very beautiful graphics, eye-catching colors, and of course inside there was advertising and offers from these companies hoping to interest you in their business. Well, today on the program, we're going to talk to a healthcare direct mail expert. Joining me on the program is Dayna Neumann. She is the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at United Direct Solutions. I can't wait to ask her how direct mail fits in today's digital-first marketing world. Let's get to it. Dayna, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Colin. Happy to be here.
I'm excited to sit down with you. We're going to cover a topic that I'm particularly interested in. But before we dive in, can you introduce yourself to our audience, your name, your role, and a bit about your company?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Dayna Neumann. I'm Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at United Direct Solutions. We're headquartered in Louisville, Kentucky. And at UDS, we specialize in transforming complex projects into user-friendly services. And the way we do that is through bridging the gaps in audience engagement, addressing inefficiencies, ensuring compliance, and streamlining workflows through automation. And the best way to describe that is that we help clients unlock the most effective ways to connect with their customers and, of course, help them find new ones. The company has been in continuous operation for over 40 years, and we have counted healthcare clients among our clients since day one.
Well, Dayna, thank you so much again for being on the program. I'm really excited to dive into one type of solution that you provide, and that, of course, is direct mail. Now, I remember back a few years, maybe decades ago, direct mail was big. I mean, I would get tons of things both at my work and at home, but it sort of fell out of favor, it seems, over the last few years, and not many people have been using it. Has direct mail evolved in the years that I haven't noticed it? What's going on with direct mail?
Yes, direct mail has evolved. Colin, we're all consumers, so we all understand, as you said, we can see what's coming into our own personal mailboxes. And as direct mail has evolved along with technology. And so we all are consumers of technology. We know what a user experience feels like when it is working well. And we also know what it feels like when it isn't working well. And so for our clients, for large healthcare companies, whether they're on the payer side or the provider side, it's about their ability to connect with their customers and to find their next customers. And so direct mail fits within that realm because it does have the ability to speak directly to the right person within their home or within their business. And it has a different feel than, say, a digital connection or communication with your customer. And so it's really incumbent on clients to release themselves from the output and say, what kind of campaign am I trying to create here? What outcomes am I looking for? And so the beauty of our services is that we can have that holistic conversation with clients so that it's not just direct mail as one channel or one output. It is about, as the industry calls it, omni-channel, right? And so you let the data and the technology tell you, how do you want to communicate with that client and what outcome are you looking for? And then tailor the communication appropriately. And so you're absolutely right. The way that direct mail has evolved over the years is along with the data that's available, the technology that's available to healthcare companies, and how are they using that data to inform the way that they communicate with clients and potential clients.
So when you say data, do you mean that direct mail is, I'll call it, smarter than it was years ago? Like, are you able to be more targeted, or like, how do people leverage the data to make direct mail more effective?
Oh, I'm so happy you asked that, Colin. This is one of my favorite topics. So when you imagine all of the interactions that a healthcare company may have with their customers or their clients or their patients, all of that data, all of those interactions are valuable. And so if those are all being captured, and this can be from a digital state, whether they're interacting on the website or they're interacting with your ads or digital content, it's important that customers or healthcare clients are capturing all of that and making sense of it. And so absolutely, once you've been able to make sense of the data and you understand who your best customers or patients or what their needs are, you can now both meet them where they are and you can start to predict the services that they may need in the future based on the information that you have today. And so for direct mail to keep up with that, that looks like taking that information and being able to apply that personalization, that customization by that patient's data into all of the ways that you communicate with them, including direct mail. And so practically speaking, that looks like having data analytics, that looks like being able to manage the list, right? All of that personal health information. We have a full compliance suite here. We are high trust and HIPAA SOC 2 and ISO certified. So we spend a large amount of our annual revenue and our time making sure that compliance is of the highest caliber, because there's one thing to manage people who you don't know yet, right? And all you have is their name and their address and maybe, an age. But when you're talking about someone's personal health information, that's a completely different set of compliance regulations. And we take that very, very seriously.
So obviously, I think given your answers, you firmly believe that direct mail has a place in this digital marketing world. It also sounds like from some of the examples you were talking about that it looks like healthcare typically uses it to connect or reconnect with people who they already know. That could be a patient, that could be someone who visited their website because they know that they have all that information. So where do you see direct mail having a place in a marketing strategy?
Absolutely, Colin. So when I answer a question like this, I think like the healthcare marketing team. Okay. And so they're thinking about acquiring new patients, and then they're also thinking about retaining existing patients and how can we make sure that we're reducing recidivism rates, right? If it's a hospital or a clinical setting, right? So there's all of those demands on that marketing team with existing patients and clients. And then there's this world of, well, how do we help other people like them make a choice to work with our clinical setting or to come and have their knee surgery at our hospital? And so when I think about those two demands, I think it's very important that you match that outcome with the strategy that you deploy. And so direct mail has a space there because when you're looking at like for instance, a patient journey, and let's say that they have asthma, for instance. How can you create a program that details to them when the pollen count is higher and it may affect their breathing? How do you communicate with them around incentivizing getting their inhalers connected to the internet, right? So you can have connected devices and you can be working with your clients or your patients in that way. You have other programs like Well Baby and Well Child programs that can incentivize parents to take their children in for the necessary screenings and keep them healthy throughout their early lives. So we have examples of how direct mail and that kind of personalization and those triggers work to help support those kinds of efforts for healthcare clients.
So Dana, is there a certain type of persona that is more receptive to direct mail nowadays? Is it based on anything like age or demographics or anything like that? Have you found in your journeys in healthcare that where that can be there, a certain group is more attuned to the messages sent through a direct mail channel?
In terms of response rates, we are seeing evidence that millennials, folks in that age group, do respond very favorably to direct mail. There is a sense of digital fatigue that can happen. And even with a digital native generation with Gen X with millennials and Gen Zs, and you've got a few of these Gen Xers who are sort of like, I know direct mail and I enjoy it, but I also grew up on it. And so it's a really interesting phenomenon that we're seeing, that this younger generation really appreciates almost the novelty of direct mail. It feels very personal. It feels like the company or the organization that sent it to you really cares, because it is so different than a digital communication. And of course, it depends on what are you trying to get them to do and how intelligent are you about that. So for instance, internet-only retailers use direct mail very strategically, abandoned carts, for instance, right? I'm sure you've probably experienced some of that. And ways in which they're using the data to say, hey, Colin, I know that you were interested in these 3 products. They're about to go on sale. Can we go ahead and take care of that for you? Here's a QR code to take you right back in to your cart and take care of that transaction. And so we're seeing a lot of that, where the digital world and that physical mail piece are working together to get that customer, that consumer, that patient to take the action that they're looking for.
Dana, for the record, I very rarely have an empty cart because usually I just go right through and buy it. So I think I have a little bit of a problem there. So I don't get very many of those, but but I can see how that could be very useful.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask this question then. So we've been talking a lot from the provider side, and even maybe sort of the payer side and engaging members through direct mail. What about B2B healthcare technology companies? Can they leverage direct mail? And have you seen any examples where it can be effective?
Yes, we have seen some examples. We have more, and I looked into what are some of the examples of B2B specifically with healthcare tech. I have some very specific examples with fintech, with financial technology companies. I think they're very relatable. They are looking to connect. Of course, they're trying to detail and connect with other businesses that can use their services. And so in our world, when we think about acquisition campaigns, like what you're talking about, again, making sure that the information that you're using is as smart and robust as it possibly can be. And with B2B, you have the advantage of utilizing various tools that can help you understand what that business or what that organization is trying to get done. And now you have multiple contacts within that organization with which to detail. And so our recommendation for anyone on the B2B, especially on the technology side, is to, again, have that same omni-channel approach and be really smart and targeted about how you look at the different buyer groups, the potential buyer groups within that organization. So maybe don't just say, oh, we're just going to buy the front desk name. Now you're limiting yourself. And so you have the ability to personalize a message to the marketing team that might be different than personalization to the HR or the finance team, depending on the different buyer groups. Because if you're a B2B technology company within healthcare, I mean, I know we're B2B, so we have to sell to a group of decision makers. And so it's infrequent that you're detailing to one buyer and they're the one person that's going to make that decision. And so using personalization, making sure that you can customize those messages, and that's something you can do with direct mail. You can do it very effectively. And oftentimes you can give them something that they're a little more interested in the education side. They tend to have a longer attention span if it's relevant to them. So if I'm a tech company and I'm detailing to, my final buyer is both the procurement team and the finance team, I need to have, maybe I'm doing a booklet for the finance team because I know they're analytical minds. And so I want to speak analytical to analytical, and I can include charts and graphs and stats. And I know they're just going to really chew up all of that data and all those numbers. So give them what you think the audience wants. And you can do that with direct mail, and you can customize to that level and perhaps have them be at their desk a captive audience that would read that information and consume it.
Dayna, what's one thing other than having robust data and having a personalized message, but what's one other thing that you would recommend to make direct mail successful?
Oh, I think that you have to have a deep understanding of who your best customer is.
Okay, what do you mean by
If
that?
if you know who your best customer is and you have, again, you have the data to support it, however you make that decision, oftentimes there's a little bit of anecdotal evidence that's mixed in there. But if I'm in a meeting about developing the right campaign that's going to really transform an organization through growth, if they can't tell me concisely who is your best customer, we have to do that work first. And so knowing who your best customer is, because then we can go and find more of them. If I understand some demographic characteristics, if I understand some of their buyer journey, how they typically interact with you, when in their life do they typically interact with you, as much information as we can have around your best customer and wrapping around not just demographic, markers, but even some of those more social indicators of how they will interact with your company helps us find more of them, create the right messaging, and choose the right channels to communicate with them, and bring that all together into a robust campaign that's going to get you the results you want. The last thing I want to do is tell somebody, yeah, absolutely, go do direct mail, and then they waste their budget on something that doesn't get them the results that they want. I have to be a good steward of the budget and the outcomes that my client is looking for so that we can be clients and partners for 20 years. That's what we're looking to do.
You shared a lot of great information with us today. Where can people go to learn more about United Direct Solutions?
udsolutions.com is the best way to interact with us. You can also find myself and my colleagues and the organization on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and Facebook.
Awesome. Well, Dayna, thank you so much for being on the program today. Really appreciated all the information you shared.
Thank you, Colin. This was fun. I appreciate it.
Hey, I want to thank Dayna for joining me on the program. I really loved her 3 recommendations for direct mail. Make sure you have robust data, personalize the direct mail piece, and be sure to target the right audience. That's great advice no matter what kind of marketing campaign you're running. And hey, if you enjoyed this interview as much as I enjoyed being part of it, please like and subscribe. Also, head on over to Swaay.Health, that's Sway with 2 A's, .health, where you can find more great content like this. I'm Colin Hung. Thanks for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode.